All right. Yeah, let's get in.
Okay, where were we?
I want to get into that Buddha and everything else that you're talking about, and mental and your blogs
Oh yeah.
and your prior, your prior passion before you even diagnoses, and how you want to take some of the, and then you said, your appendix, and you've gone,
Mhm.
maybe went through those previous adversities, but now that you're dealing with the cancer, how does that, obviously you're going to take those experiences and those mental aspects, positivities of your blogs, and now you got to apply it on yourself even more now, right?
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows.
You gotta keep moving, let's go. Don't quit till you got nothing left.
You can either live your dreams or live your fears.
Because you'll have bad times, but that'll always wake you up to the good stuff you weren't paying attention to.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
From the Cancer Sucks Studios, you just tuned in to Life Lessons and Cancer Hope with Coach Steve. Listen, cancer ain't got nothing on me. Introducing an outstanding podcast where we discuss relatable life lessons, ambition, motivation, and perseverance. Welcome back to another episode.
I assume because now you
Absolutely.
got diagnosed with cancer.
What I was starting to say, I'm not sure where we got caught up. Tibetan Buddhism teaches that our attachments are one of the primary causes of all suffering. They refer to them as poisons or fires. And one of the things we oftentimes get attached to are outcomes. We get attached to our identities and labels and titles and people and things and outcomes. And in outcomes, for instance, when I started going through my testing, when they did the PSA test, obviously you wanted to come back low, not high. It came back high. So, okay. So you have to let go of the outcome. You do the test. It's going to be whatever it's going to be, and you move forward. So when they did the biopsy, he was encouraging at the beginning that, the amount of enlargement I had could easily account for the increased PSA test. But again, it's going to be whatever it's going to be. So you don't go in there clinging to something that you can't control anyway. And then having this big letdown when you find out, no, it wasn't enlargement, you have cancer. Or the same with the bone scan. It wasn't clean. It has metastasized. Okay. It is what it is. One of the other things I had learned in going through the adversities, I lost my practice a number of years ago. I did lose my health and nearly die 20 years ago. And I learned that no matter how bad the fear might be, you can circumvent it by focusing on something else. And the easiest thing for me was to find things that I was grateful for. And admittedly, when I was going through like bankruptcy, when I was going through some other health crises, it was maybe a little harder to find things to be grateful for, but you can find them. And likewise with this, yes, I have cancer. Yes, the prognosis maybe isn't as rosy as we'd like it to be. But I've had a really good life. I've gotten to do pretty much everything I've ever wanted to do. Even if only once, I've gotten to do it. I've stood on stage at bodybuilding shows. I won my weight class at the Buffalo Classic many years ago. I got to go to chiropractic school. I got to have my practice. I got to do a lot of things. And if nothing else, it helps me to remind myself that there's no need to be greedy. I got to do a lot of things a lot of other people would like to have done and never did. I did get to do them. I certainly would like to do more. I certainly don't have any plans on just rolling over and playing dead, but I'm not greedy. I did get to do these things, and I'm thankful for that. And if I focus on that, it helps tamper down the fear. I mean, I'm going to die. We're all going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when, but I don't have to focus on that as much,
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And, and it's so true when people are trying to do like affirmations, positive affirmations, right? You never want to say, I want, because that's just like selfishness. You got to be, you got to be grateful. Like you said, you got to have gratitude for what the universe or your faith or spirituality or whatever is giving you, and look at it a different way. And I try not to hate my cancer. I try to say, hey, because I know my cancer cells are a part of me. There was something in my life, some kind of condition that changed my regular cells to cancer. And I, touch my cancer on the outside and I say, thank you for, being with me for the time, but you know what? It's time for you to go. It's time for you to leave and change back.
I
But
agree.
I never say, "Oh, screw you, cancer," and things like that, because I just think
There's an author, there's an oncologist by the name of O.G. Carl Simonton, and he wrote a book called Getting Well Again. And he talks about cancer patients and how in his practice, a lot of cancer patients would be able to relate that at some point in their lifetime, they had a period where they had a complete loss of hope, a complete bottoming out and hopelessness, and that seemed to correlate with people coming down with cancer. And certainly in my lifetime, when I lost my practice, when I had my other health issues, I've certainly had periods of time where I've absolutely felt completely and totally hopeless. So if that contributed to it, it easily could have. If it does, I've had those instances. You can't take them back. I'm human. I felt what I felt when I felt it. I'm not mad at me for it, and I'm not mad at cancer. It is what it is. But we're going to do the best we can going forward. And I'll tell you, kind of a funny thing, maybe it's a quirky thing, but I've never had any tattoos. My daughter has several. I've never had any. I've never had any interest in it. I got home the day that I got my cancer diagnosis. I thought, I need a tattoo. I'm getting one. I'm actually going to get a Grim Reaper skull on my shoulder. I've danced with death before, and if death wants to dance again, more power to him. He can park himself on my shoulder.
There you go.
And that's where we'll go forward from it.
That's awesome. So. Yeah, that's
like you, I'm heavily addicted to working out. I will be working out until they carry me out. So I will find a way to continue doing that as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So what do you?
I don't feel sick. I actually feel the best I felt in years. So the diagnosis, honestly, was unexpected, completely unexpected.
Like just like shocked, right? Because you didn't really. Yeah.
Yeah, when have you seen the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles with John Candy and Steve Martin?
Yeah.
And there's a scene where
classic.
They're trying to get the car out of the snow in front of the hotel, and he backs it through and slams it into the hotel. He pulls it back forward, and John Candy turns around and looks at it and says, "Huh, that was what I said when they gave me my cancer diagnosis." Huh. What do you do?
Right. Yeah, right.
So
yeah, wow. There wasn't any I'm not sure. Like for some people, they experience like for me, I experienced weight loss prior to being sick, and I just attributed it to stress. And then all of a sudden I had like the tumor pain. So that, the weight loss wasn't really, a big, huge red flag. But now that I look back on it, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, I guess, I guess it was, something going on there. But with you, like nothing, right? Like you've been fine up until this point.
No, not really. Not really. And yet on the flip side, because I hadn't had a PSA in 10 years, you can't say that we caught it early, because we didn't. It wasn't early detection. They never ran a test.
Yeah.
So we caught it before symptoms, maybe before I had overt symptoms, but it's there.
Yeah. But I mean, as far as like affecting your weight loss or physicalness or anything else like that, no, it just sneaked up right. Yeah, that's what happened to me too. It just sneaked right up on us, looks like. So
I haven't had a PSA in over a decade. Not my doing. My doctor never ordered one. I turned 50. I thought he'd be doing like a digital rectal, and he said they don't do those anymore, and he never ordered a PSA. And I decided to have one. I found myself a urologist and had one done anyways, because I thought maybe I should have one. I was starting to, I peed a lot during the night for years, but I'm on a water pill for blood pressure. So, I thought maybe it was from that. Anyway, they ran a PSA and it was 6.3, I'm sorry. And they said, had you been doing anything beforehand that could have elevated, like, do you ride a bike or anything? And I do. I ride a stationary bike at work for 16 minutes, 3 days a week. I ride it hard at a very high RPM, about 110, 112 RPMs. And I had ridden it for literally just 15 minutes before I went and had my PSA drawn. So they said, okay, take, 10 days off the bike and go have it redone. The number will come down. I went and had it redone, and it came back 7.1. So it went up, got down. So they scheduled a biopsy. They did the biopsy, and they said, well, they're doing the biopsy. They said, your prostate's enlarged. It's 75 cubic centimeters, about double the size it should be, but no nodules. The increased size of it alone, if it's benign prostatic hypertrophy, could account for the increased PSA. No big deal, nothing to worry about. But we'll see what the biopsy shows. Biopsy came back. I have prostatic carcinoma. They did 12 plugs. 6 of the 12, 1 on one side, 5 on the other, are cancer. 2 of them are Gleason scale 6, and the other 4 are Gleason scale 7, which he said is aggressive. He said that of the 3 options initially that you're looking at, watch and wait, a radioactive seed, or prostatectomy, that the watch and wait was not an option for me because it looked like it was probably aggressive. I've since had a bone scan. I had that this past Monday, and it apparently shows areas of possible metastasis to my spine and rib. So that's where we're at.
Okay.
So of course they've ordered tests to see if I've broken my rib or something. I don't know about it, but I don't think I've broken a rib.
Yeah. All right. So what's the?
So that's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, if you, I didn't. Wow. I mean, you're like fresh.
And if that is correct, if the bone scan is correct, that would put me at stage 4.
Yeah. So what are you leaning towards? Are you think you're gonna just have the prostate, get a TERP or?
Well, from the things I had read, because they said before you decide what you can do, you have to figure out what can be done based on where it's at. If it was contained within the prostate, then they do a prostatectomy, and there's if it's localized like that, there's 100% survival rate at 5 years if you have it removed. If it's broken free of the prostate capsule, if it's regionalized, broken free but still in lymph nodes contained within the pelvic cavity, there's still 100% survival rate at 5 years. If it's gone further than that and traveled like it would appear mine has, it's too late to remove the prostate. Actually, if it's broken free of the prostate, even into the pelvic region, it's too late to remove the prostate. If it's metastasized further away, the survival rate at 5 years is only about 30%. And the survival rate at 20 years is about 1.5%. It would appear that removing the prostate's probably not going to be an option based on the fact that it looks like it's metastasized up to L5 in the T12 rib, or T10 rib, rather.
Yeah, so probably chemo.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Probably chemo and radiation, yeah.
Yeah, chemo and radiation, yeah. I don't want to make light of anything. Have you ever read Radical Hope and Radical Remissions by Kelly Turner?
You told me about those, and I just received Radical Hope in the mail today.
Oh,
so
nice.
I will be reading those.
Both books are just amazing. Radical Remissions goes into the 10 factors a little bit more deeply, where Radical Hope tells stories. But I think there was like a couple of stories with people with guys with prostate cancer, and they were saying that obviously you want the cancer gone and you want to cut it out of you, but there was this story or two where they were glad they didn't end up taking the prostate out, and they went with chemo, radiation, and other some of these 10 factors of Radical Hope, because they say, I guess, it could screw everything up, screw a lot of things up, right? I mean, you need your prostate.
Well, yeah, if you remove the prostate, the odds, I think if you remove the prostate, you've got a 30% chance of becoming urinary incontinent and a 50% chance of being erectile dysfunction the rest of your life. And once it's broken free of the prostate capsule, there's no point in removing the prostate.
Yeah.
So it's probably not going to be removed. I won't ever be cancer free, but hopefully we'll be able to do something to prolong it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cancer controlled, or you never know what's going to happen, because I got to tell you, with my stage 4 cancer, they were so sinister. My liver was completely covered. I don't know if you know my full story, but my liver was completely covered in tumors. And I was inoperable, chemo for life. They gave me the statistics, which you'll find out through Kelly Turner's books that the statistics are wrong, because, They don't have enough. These doctors don't put out enough radical remission, um, out there in the research and in the books, and they just report, a lot of, you know, you know, deaths and things like that instead of the radical remission. So, but she's going out there and she's trying to pull stories from people, submissions, research, to get more of an accurate statistics. But anyway, where the hell was I going with this? Oh yeah, me. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty much, after the doctor didn't want to say it in the beginning. I don't know. I went through a couple different doctors, but then after a while, the doctor's like, yeah, this is, it's a marathon, not a sprint. I didn't want to hear that, but whatever. And then he's like, yeah, we're more like chemo controlled, chemo for life. Unfortunately, whatever. I'm 45, so. But now it's like, I went through lots of different options. Radio embolizations, and chemo, and just mental affirmations and acupuncture, and in social support. And it's just amazing how, things like that can really, like mind over body, can really make a difference with chemo and things like that. And now the liver's dead. The last couple scans, the liver tumors are dead. I have a lot of information, but, then they found that there was some mets to my lung. They took, supposedly they took care of that, but I don't know. I'm going to get scans done in about a week and a half. I got to go back to New York, at Sloan in New York. As you know, we talked about that, right? I'm in Rochester,
right.
so
right. Yeah.
But and I got a chemo pump inside my abdomen and things like that goes right into.
Are you able to train with that?
Yeah, I it's a pain in the butt.
You're still able to work out?
Yeah. So with the HAI pump, I have to wear. I ended up buying Mark Bell's Strongman binder.
I've seen it. I've actually talked to you online about that big neoprene belt.
Yeah. And it's amazing because it not only does it help like protect the pump and secure it, because there are sutures inside the pump. And sometimes the company Medtronics, they don't want you to work out or do any lifting because they don't want it to start tilting or moving around or dislodging. And my surgeon was like, nah, you're fine. He's like, he puts them in good. I can feel like if I don't wear the brace and I do certain things, I can feel the sutures inside pulling a little bit, but man, that brace. And of course, with my incision and everything in my core, loss of core, that I have to regain. It's just, I can squat, deadlift with it. It's not restricting at all.
I actually have that belt in my wish list on Amazon right now. So.
Oh yeah, good. Yeah, because I think it helps because the weight, the leather belts or the power. I usually wear like a powerlifting belt, 10 millimeter, thick, I think it's like 4 inches. Yeah, 4 inch. And this was before I got sick, but I can't wear that belt now with the pump, and plus with my abdomen, I gotta have. More support. Breathing wise, okay, it's going to be a little bit like, a little bit more because it's so like on you versus a belt only 3 or 4 inches, depending. But I think, I love it. I love it. I do all kinds of stuff, and I'm able to, do the sandbag and the log bar, do some strongman stuff, not only, powerlifting and things like that, but. Yeah, even if I got to get on a bench and do dumbbells, I got to wear the brace because it's just,
Yeah. I've been through I had a ruptured appendix 20 years ago that I went septic from, and I nearly died from that one. So I've kind of played this thing before. Yeah. I've danced with death before, let's say.
Right.
I'm not taking it lightly by any means, but I'm also not one... No. I kind of look at the whole thing from a perspective of why not me as opposed to why me. I'm
that's good.
What happens, and I've learned not to. Read some of my blog posts, and one of the things I had learned, I had gone through some financial difficulties as well as the health difficulties years ago, and I learned how to let things go.
Yeah. Wow. And do you, you said you were, working out, primarily. Do you
Yep.
go to a gym or do you work out at home or?
I work out at home. I have a complete home gym.
Nice.
I have a 2-car garage packed full of equipment, commercial style equipment. I've been bodybuilding for a little over 43 years. I used to go to the gyms. It's just more convenient. I do it at home.
Yeah, no,
So
I hear you. So do I. Yeah, so
that way I can control the music and the temperature and do it whatever time of day I want.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, and I just think that's a huge factor too in trying to beat cancer. It's just being,
yeah.
Having exercise as part of your life prior to diagnoses, and it's never too late. So I mean, I've been doing a big push on all these podcasts for people that, because they get uncomfortable. They're like, well, I didn't really work out before the diagnosis, and now I guess maybe I should. And I said, we'll start off slow with walks, things like that before you get into any kind of strength training. And there's always bands and simple things. And, if you have the option, get a personal trainer to help you go. But many goals, many small wins is the way to go, because as fighting cancer and things like that, it could, if you have the goals are too far out, it
Sure.
can be overwhelming and causes even more anxiety. And you want to produce momentum in your mind and also momentum physically. In order to do that, you need little small goal wins. So that's what I try to preach.
I do the weights 4 days a week, and I started doing cardio more than I used to. I have one other health issue where my left leg doesn't work like it used to. I was in a motorcycle wreck 35 years ago and landed on my back. At the time, they didn't think it was any big deal, but apparently I did some damage at T12. And about 21 years ago, the left leg got weak enough that I couldn't run anymore. If I'd run, I'd fall because the leg wasn't strong enough to catch me on a stride. And about 2 years ago, it got bad enough that I had to start using a cane. And that's actually kind of the reason I've started doctoring these last couple of years. I've been pursuing different doctors to see if there's anything you could do for my leg, because everything else is strong. My calves are strong. My anterior tibia is strong. My hamstrings are strong. My glutes are strong. My right quad is strong. My left quad is profoundly weak. So that's kind of why we've been kind of in doctoring mode this year anyway, this year and last year. And that was kind of why we started running some other tests and, just trying to, do the 50,000-mile checkup, so to speak. So actually I started, I bought myself a spin bike, and I ride that 3 days a week at work. I work as a director of housing management at our local housing authority now. And we have other employees that take smoke breaks. I don't smoke, but I approached the director and I said, I'd like to bring a bike in and take my smoke break on my spin bike. And they went for it. The same amount of time that people go out that have cigarettes. So I ride it 16 minutes a day, 3 days a week. It's sitting right beside my desk, so I have no reason not to ride it. I've been doing that for the last 6 months. I intend to keep doing that. It helps keep my leg functional as best it can. And I feel better riding the bike in addition to the weights,
That's awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's cool that your employer lets you do that. Should promote that for everybody,
When I first thought of it, I first proposed it to her, I thought she's not going to go for this. And she was great. We have, like I said, several employees go out and take a smoke break 10, 15 minutes twice a day. So how can they say I can't close my door and ride my bike for 16 minutes, right?
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, plus a lot healthier.
The executive director's been great about that. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. No, that's really good. But I wanted to ask you through, I want you to talk about your blog and, tell the audience, about your adversities before. You mentioned you're, almost lost your life through appendicitis and your practice. And, some of those, the mental positivities and things that you try to, overcome those adversities, so we can kind of see how we can apply that going forward, and for yourself, how you plan on applying that to your cancer diagnosis.
Okay. 20 years ago this April, I was competing in a bodybuilding show in Buffalo. And I I had a few years off from competing because of going to chiropractic school and everything and opening my practice and getting things rolling. And I decided it was time to come back and hit the stage. And, you diet down for a show, and leading into the show, 5 days out from the show, my abdominals looked really, really good. And the day before the show, my abdominals looked really, really bad. I didn't know why. They just kind of washed out. And I thought, well, I must be holding water or whatever. So I stayed up late that night and did extra crunches and everything and tried to, of course, then I wake up in the middle of the night with a bellyache. Well, I'd done extra crunches. So, right? It makes sense. I get up the next morning for the show, and I hardly slept. I get up the next morning and I felt like crap. I thought, geez, what a horrible time to get the flu. And there was a pump-up room before going up a stage, and there were all these steps that I had to climb. And I thought, geez, I don't think I'm going to have the strength to climb those steps if I pump up. So I skipped the pump-up even. Went up, did the prejudging, did photos, and went back to the hotel room. And next thing you know, I had to go to the emergency room. I was starting having convulsive cramps in my abdomen.
Wow.
The hospital in Buffalo diagnosed me as being dehydrated. They were more concerned with my color because, we paint our skin for show. They were more concerned with my skin color than anything. So I was dehydrated and sent me home. So the next day, Sunday, we stopped at the emergency room in Meadville where I was living. And they weren't sure either. So they admitted me and scheduled me for an exploratory the next day. Well, by the time they get in, we're 2 days past rupture. The appendix had burst. I was filled all the way up to the diaphragm with pus, and I was septic. And they said another 6 hours I'd have died. We come out of that, and, they talk about finding your magnificent why when you're looking for a way to move forward towards a big goal. And initially, I came out of the hospital, when I came out of the surgery, I felt like crap. And I was mad. I was mad at the world. I didn't want to do anything. And I had a nurse come in to me one day while they're taking care of me. And they wanted me to get up and walk every day, and I didn't want to get up at all. My stomach sloshed. I just felt horrible. I didn't want to do it. And she took my forearms in her arms. She looked in my eyes and she said, do you want to live or do you want to die? And I thought about it a lot. And I remembered I'd made a promise to my son, who was in kindergarten at the time. This was in early May. I was supposed to go with him as a chaperone on his bus trip and a year school field trip to the Erie Zoo. And that was 4 weeks away. And I decided I needed to keep that promise. And I did. I got up every day and I walked in the hospital 10 days till they let me go home. The level of infection was bad enough that they couldn't close the incision. They had to let it heal from the inside out. But I walked a little further every day. And when it came time for that field trip in 4 weeks, I was there. Now, admittedly, if anyone would have known my health status at the time, they probably wouldn't have let me go. But I was there. And that got me through that. And years later, then my practice was really, really rocking. And the appendix was in 2001. In 2012, in Pennsylvania, the insurance industry changed the rules for chiropractic. They divvying up a pie. They said that certain providers can do this, some can do this, and some can do that, and there's no mixing. I had a lot of athletes in my practice. I did a lot of extremity work, and they took that away. They said chiropractors could no longer do that in the state of Pennsylvania. Only physical therapists could. They took some other things away. They changed some things away. They took away people that had like unlimited care, no longer had more than 6 or 7 visits a year. And all at once, I went from $120,000 a year working part-time hours to $12,000 a year. And it absolutely decimated me. I lost my practice. I lost the business. I lost the office building, nearly lost my house, and went through some massive self-reevaluation. When my appendix burst, I had kind of gotten into personal development and read a little over 100 books, just trying to, piece my life back together. When the practice went down, I actually wrote my second book. It's called The Zero's Journey, a modern day survival guide to weathering accidental enlightenment. And that was more than anything else, was me trying to make sense of everything I'd just gone through, losing my livelihood, my ideal lifestyle, all my wealth, the whole bit. It was trying to find some meaning in that. And then if possible, to put something out there for people who were going through like I was, who couldn't find things. I was trying to speak to what I would like to have had spoken to me. So from there, I put together a website, alwaysbelieveinyourdreams.com. I've written several books since that. And that's just been kind of, in an effort to make create positivity out of the appendix episode, out of the complete financial travesty of losing my practice, I try to create something that would help others and give me something to get up for in the morning. And quite honestly, all of that has been really good training for where I'm at now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That sounds amazing.
I understand. I understand what I'm up against. I know it's not going to be easy. And I know that my day, we all know we're going to die eventually. My days maybe come sooner than I had hoped for. But again, I focus on not letting myself get greedy. I've had a good life. I've gotten to do everything I wanted to do. Things like this podcast are one of them. I love doing this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's
I tried
great.
for years to get to do a TED Talk or a TEDx talk. I applied almost 30 times over a 4-year period to speak at TEDx events and TED events all across Canada and the United States. Nobody ever said yes, but I still tried. I still build speeches for it, and I've got an ongoing blog. And that's the kind of stuff I write about is picking yourself back up again and starting over. There's a word called afflatus that I like. It's from the time of the ancient times of the Roman philosophers Cicero, Horace, and Virgil. And afflatus literally translates your inspiration that comes direct from the breath of God. Is what we would die to do. It's what we're here to do. It's our life purpose. And I've learned that just because you're following your afflatus and pursuing your life dreams doesn't mean you're going to get to do them. What's important is who you become while in pursuit of those things. And so I say, if you fail to realize your afflatus, and if your dreams do not come true, you can always dream another dream, and you can always start anew. And I think that's important because I don't think our dreams were ever meant to be just for us. I think that our dreams are given to us by a higher power, but they're meant, they're meant for the betterment of humanity. They're not just for us. They're meant to be expressed for the benefit of everybody else and for the benefit of humanity. If we fail to pursue those and become all we can become, I think we're shortchanging the work we're sent here to do. So that's what I intend to continue doing until I have no other breath.
Yeah, I totally think we're all here in life to make connections and to connect through sharing similar situations and adversities and things like that. It's not just about me. And that's funny about how what you were talking about how the dreams and sometimes things like the TED Talks and things like that, but the laws of attraction, they say sometimes you just have to detach yourself from your own timeline and just trust the universe's or faith or religion or spiritual that timeline. And so, as you say, you detach yourself and kind of work on other stuff, you never know. The universe might say, hey, now, you've got cancer, you're going through that, give you some time to deal with that. And then who knows, the TED Talk thing might come about. And that shows that it's just your timeline. It just wasn't in your own timeline. You detach it and you trust that in the universe's timeline.
I forget who I heard who said it, and I apologize for this because I'm usually big on giving credit where credit's due for quotes. But there's someone that said that the person that plants a tree in their lifetime, knowing that they'll never live to see it grow, has learned the meaning of life.
Oh wow, that's great!
When I wrote my books, I'll find the author for because it's somebody important, and I apologize for I cannot think of it off the top of my head, but. A lot of authors, a lot of artists, a lot of paintings, a lot of books don't make any impact until after the creators, after the authors or painters or whoever, writers, passing, after their death. So when I put my books out there, like I said, initially it was just a way for me to make sense of what my own experiences. But then it was to help others who might be going through something similar to know that they're not alone and to know that there is hope for them. And if my books or anything I've created or any of my blogs or any of that don't come to anything until after I'm gone, I'm cool with that. If they don't come to anything ever, I'm cool with that. I enjoyed making them. I've enjoyed putting them out there. But I realize that, like you said, my time and God's time might not even be close to the same timelines. I understand that.
Yeah. That's great. And then we were going to talk about more of the, and I'm going to link up for those listening on the podcast and also watching the YouTube videos. Jon's blog. You got to check him out. His site and also your books, and check those out too. So
I appreciate it. My books are available everywhere. They're they're available for Amazon. They're available through Ingram Spark, which is the international catalog. That's where Barnes and Noble and places like that get them. You can find them anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, any adversity, not just cancer, any adversity at all. I just think a lot of it's, you're talking 70-80% mental, trying to get through it. Sure, there's, nutrition, exercise, and supplements, but other than that, the rest of the factors are, all mental, whether it's to do with support in your life or affirmations, trusting, believing, hope. And, that's what they say. You got to find the inside. You don't find joy in life from the outside without finding the joy inside of you first. And that goes with, just about anything in life. I think it's just, and that will project and manifest itself in the, external physical world. But I think everything just starts on the inside. Anything you want to expand on?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm actually big on is finding the common threads in different religions. So many people base their religion on the family they were brought up in, as opposed to considering that maybe you think what you think because it's your family or the region of the country you were born in, or the country you were born in, or whatever. And I like to find the common threads because I think those are more likely to have the most truth to them. And one of the most common threads in all the major religions is the golden rule, to doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. There's different variations on that, but it all boils down to we all have similar desires and drives in life, and to recognize that we have far more in common with one another than apart, and to treat others the way we'd like to be treated. I think regardless of somebody's faith, if you can consider, you mentioned the law of attraction, and in some respects, I think it's more almost a law of reflection, a matter of you having to put it out there first for them to reflect it back to you, as opposed to sitting and waiting for something to come to you. And if we treat people the way we want to be treated, one of the things I found, the best way to help people, in a lot of respects, we're all alone. And most of what happens to us, at least a lot of what happens to us, happens by chance. And the best way I found to improve our chances, our individual chances, is by actively working to help improve the chances for someone else. That's a tough concept sometimes for people to get.
Yeah.
But if every one of us, instead of just praying for what we wanted, if we went out and actually attempted to help others achieve what they're praying for, then maybe our prayers would actually come true too. If nothing else, for the fact that collectively all of us were looking out for one another to raise one another up. And I'm real big on that.
Yeah, full circle, right? It's almost like, us and then other people, and the other people, their effects on us, and bouncing back and forth, full circle. I just think that's so powerful.
And every religion, Buddhism, Taoism, Muslim, Christian, Judaism, the Sikhism, all of the major religions have a thread of the golden rule in it. One of the books I wrote, it was just a study guide to go along with the Zero's Journey. It was called The Golden Rule, ROLE. The Golden Rule just be nice. And the whole thing was just that, to find ways to lift up your fellow man, to find a way to empathize and have compassion for them and understand that we're all struggling. We've all got battles. That's why I said at the start of this, the first gut instinct when something like this happens, I think, is to think, well, geez, why me? Well, why not me? I'm no different than anybody else. And neither is anybody else. I think it's in finding that commonality that we can find the love for one another and maybe make it through this stuff together.
Oh, that's so true. It's so powerful. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I had a thought now and I forgot what I was going to say, but, it's, oh yeah. So it's, it's just amazing how, like, sometimes I'll, especially over the last couple years, with stuff that's going on in the world, we need more positivity and more love and compassion for others and selfless acts. But it just seems like, where I've, even my circle, or, I've acquaintances, not really like close circle of people I had to like push off from my social media too, because I just thought it was so important. And sometimes I'll look at that and I'll say, what is going on? Why is the world changing so much in the last, year and a half, 2 years? But if you look at my cancer diagnosis, it was like a year and a half, right? And my wife said it the other day. She's like, you know what? It's you. You're changing. You're looking at the world at a different, yeah. So, not that I've been a registered nurse for 25 years. I've been at the bedside of patients, and I've always been a nice compassion, a lot of compassion for life. But even then, she said, yeah, you know what? You just changed the outlook on the world and other people, and the connections and yourself is what's going on. And your eyes are opening up now. And I'm like, wow, like, talk about self-reflection. It's like,
it's true story.
I guess that makes sense.
And I'll apologize ahead of time if I'm a little long-winded, but
no, take your time.
One of the things that you just touched on actually is one of my favorite quotes from one of my books. It's actually something I'd worked into the talk I had originally hoped to give, is that the phoenix that arises from the ashes of loss, suffering, humiliation, and despair is one that readily recognizes the suffering of others and is no longer capable of sitting idly by in indifference. What it means is that when you go through something like your cancer diagnosis or like some of the things I've been through, it cracks your heart open into loving compassion, and you can't look the other way now because you can see this in other people. You can see other people that are suffering. You can see that everybody's suffering, and you can't just turn a blind eye to it anymore because it's not just them, it's you too.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is so true. You were going to discuss, like, you were passionate about talking to your TED Talks.
Well, the main thing I was going to talk about originally is what it's like the importance of having a dream to follow, the fact that the life is a very formidable and fickle mistress at best, and that just because you pursue those things doesn't mean you're going to succeed. You may fail miserably, but the importance of still doing so. And honestly, if you were going to sum up all of my books and my TED Talk into a single thing, it would come down to this. It would be finding your own inner light and then using it to shine it for others who are still struggling to find a way out of the darkness. And that's everything to me in a nutshell. And I've struggled to come out of the darkness multiple times, financially, health-wise with my appendix, and I'm back on the journey again now with cancer. So, but every one of us, and you're a shining example of this, every one of us that comes out of the darkness lights a path for those of us further back on this particular journey of hope to be able to get to that point, to get through it. And I think that's probably the most important gift, the most valuable gift you could ever give to another human being.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You talk about that. I've been studying more up on Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you've heard of him, Dr. Joe Dispenza, but
I know the name.
definitely check him out. He talks about a lot of like mind over healing and things like that. But there was the like he talks about, because there's always like not the Western world, but in the Eastern world, that inner light that you were just talking about. But how he actually says there's actually like they've done scans, and with photons in your body lights up, and and it's so important to let release energy inside energy, let it keep flowing, and let that light, those photons show up. Because sometimes if you try to bottle everything up, or woe is me, then that light is actually dimmer. On those scans, and I'm trying to do more
I
research
agree
on that.
completely with that.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Yeah,
That just makes, that makes perfect sense. They talk about, I think it was Osho that said that the cracks in your exterior when you go through something are what let the light in. And I think my personal opinion is that that's backwards. I think the light's already in every one of us. And those cracks that occur when we go through cancer or a burst appendix or financial calamity or divorce or whatever, it's already in those cracks. Without let that light out, unless we try and seal it off by becoming bitter and angry. And if we let that light shine out, I think that's the closest we can come to experiencing God on earth.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, even I was gonna say, even that sounds like it's so important for like you said, those lights to shine through that cracks instead of bottling up. Or it's like I'm trying to do more research on the chakras, right? The 7 chakras, and they say it's so important to a lot of that energy can build up, and it's not good for you. You almost like gotta clear them out and let it continue, let it flow, and it can do a lot of healing. So
Did you say you do acupuncture with some
yeah,
stuff you do too, or is that?
yeah, I do. Yeah, I've been doing acupuncture, and I didn't get a chance to go this week because I haven't been feeling the greatest. But yeah, I've been doing acupuncture for a while, so it takes like 3 or 4 sessions to build up on it. But they work on the big thing was like detoxing the body, which is what I need for my liver, things like that for the cancer. But like bowel irregularity, and they work on anxiety and sleep, and it's really like I've been trying to practice more meditation, but the acupuncture allows me to have that practice where like my acupuncturist says, don't fall asleep, try to stay awake, you got to relax. Sometimes a quiet mind is like the loudest, sometimes, especially if you have like a lot of anxiety like I do, it's when it's quiet, you're actually screaming, you can hear yourself screaming in your head, things like that. But during that acupuncture moment where you're just, with your hands, your feet uncrossed, your hands open, and you're laying there, and they're doing the little tiny needles, pressure points, things like that. And then they put the soft music on, and then they leave you for like half hour. And that's when I try to really calm, and I can almost feel it working, and having my head, eventually it clears up, and that's like gets me into that meditative state. So then I try to take that practice and use it at home. But yeah, I mean, I just think acupuncture is great. Yeah.
Have you ever tried breathing exercises or anything for clearing your mind like that?
No, I mean, other than like, the breathing in slowly, holding it and breathing it out, trying to fall into
There's a
that
thing
deeper
I used to
energy, but
do.
no.
There's a thing I've done. I haven't done it recently. I think it's a yoga practice. It's called alternate nostril breathing. And what you do is you're supposed to use your the 2 little fingers and your thumb, and you breathe in through one nostril for a 4 count, plug it, hold it for an 8 count, and then release it for a 6. No, you hold it, you breathe in. I'm sorry, you breathe in for a 4 count, hold it for a 16 count, and breathe out for an 8. Then you breathe in for 4, hold for 16, out for 8. The thing about the numbers, I don't know if there's anything magical about those numbers, but what I've found helpful for me is because you're focusing on counting 4, counting 16, counting 8, back and forth. You're supposed to do that 10 times. In all that counting, you can't think of anything else. So particularly if you're feeling anxious or if you've got that tape going in your head that you can't turn off, you got to count for 4, 16, 8, 16, 8, in for 4, 16, out for 8, in for 4, 16, out for 8, and you go back and forth like that for 10 times. It takes about 10 minutes. During that time, you're not thinking about anything else, and it calms you down. As a yoga practice is supposed to help with energy, but what I found it for most helpful for me is it shuts off that loop that you can't turn off in your head sometimes.
Oh, I know.
Rather than trying to think, I'm not supposed to be thinking anything, and then you're thinking about how you're not supposed to be thinking anything.
Right.
And, so.
Yeah. And sometimes you're just spiraling, and then you're just thinking more.
Yeah, I found that a good way of interrupting that.
Yeah. I gotta try that. Yeah, definitely. Wow. Yeah, they say, meditation is, it just takes practice. Like I said, I'm still practicing, but, 20 minutes a day, they said I could do wonders, I
think we covered an awful lot of ground.
Oh yeah. I mean, this has been great. This is what I really love to talk about. All the topics you brought up, and just getting down into that, that whatever it is, that spirituality, that, positivity, that, getting through adversities. And, so I'm definitely going to be, praying for you and sending out good vibes, good positive energy to you for your,
I appreciate that. I've always enjoyed your posts and everything on social media, but they've become particularly close to me this past few weeks. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. I try to mix it up a little bit. I put some funny stuff on there, mainly because I make up these little video memes, and it just makes me, I crack myself up with it, and then I got to post it. But I try to balance, some good positive things out there and share.
Well, that's kind of like the tattoo I'm getting on my shoulder. Most everyone I've told about getting a tattoo of the Grim Reaper on my shoulder for Dancing with Death, I find that hilarious. Most people don't, but I think it's fun.
Right? Yeah. Well, we kind of, some of that dark humor, some people are like, oh, what are you doing? And I guess if you haven't gone through it yourself, but we earned the right through our adversities to have that dark humor. So if it offends somebody, hey, to each its own. So
absolutely.
Yeah, you laughter and just smile. It just does a big thing, So yeah, I want to definitely have you back on for another episode.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate you putting on this time. I didn't know if I'd have anything to contribute. I hope you found it helpful.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I want to just close out here and have people smash that like and subscribe button on the YouTube channel. Check us out on Google, Spotify, podcasts. And Jon, again, thank you for taking the time and being here. And we're gonna have you back on the show. We're gonna talk offline here, and have you come up with some more of this of these things that we've been talking about. I definitely want to expand on it and have another conversation, bring it back on the show. So we'll have a game plan for that.
I appreciate it very much, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah. And for those in the audience, check us out on the next episode. Appreciate you guys being with us. All right. We'll see you.
From the Cancer Sucks Studios, that is a wrap. Check us out in future episodes of our podcast and be sure to subscribe. But before we go, just want to give a shout out to all the admirable and devoted caregivers out there. Until next time, stay strong. We got this.
Because every once in a while, the lion has to show the jackals who he is.